we go. Hello, everyone. Let me just get myself sorted here. Make sure you can see what you're doing. I'm going to grab one more book. I think that is going to be good. Welcome. It has been a crazy Wednesday for sure here, but we are ready to get started. So welcome to Homemade with Heidi, today sponsored by the Guilford Public Library. So excited that we have been able to continue this programming into the winter months or into the fall months. Today it kind of feels like winter. And doing some more baking. So today we're going to focus on pizza, and I actually threw in calzones. Probably one of the easiest things that I make for my kids that they love to make and help with, and great on the go. So I am going to share with you my pizza dough recipe. It will be posted down below. It is easily, oops, I'm sorry, something keeps on popping up. Okay, there we go. She is so, something that's totally easily, I've lost my train of thought. Totally easy dough recipe that you can make some modifications to and kind of fine tune and tweak yourself. So that's what we're gonna do today. So let's talk about what you need. And as I said, the recipe, the ingredients list will be posted below the video at the end. So let me grab my cheat sheet. Wednesdays have kind of become crazy. We run to Meredith for an hour-long dance program and then come back. So a little bit of scattered brain, but here we go. So for this recipe, you are going to need, and we're going to do it in our KitchenAid mixer. I will be completely honest. I, this morning, did 2 batches in my bread machine because it's easy. You just throw it in the bread machine. It mixes, it kneads it. It's warm in there, so it rises. So I was able to get, it's a 45-minute cycle. The first batch I put through the 45-minute cycle, it probably let it stay an extra 15 minutes, took it out, let it rise on its own. Within 5 minutes, had another batch going, and that batch is still in there. So I love the bread machine as a dough maker because it's quick, it's efficient, and it does the job while I can get other things done. And sometimes convenience overrides practicality. So that is, I do use the bread machine for that. But for this, we're going to use a KitchenAid mixer. You can use the bread machine, you can use a KitchenAid mixer, you can use a bowl and a wooden spoon and your hands. Super easy, very versatile dough that kind of goes with the flow. You really can't mess it up. So let's get started. The first thing is a tablespoon and a half of extra virgin olive oil. I'm going to put that in. Then a cup and a half of water, which I need to go grab. Didn't make it quite over to my workstation. Cup and a half of water. Because we are doing this and it's not in the bread machine, which warms everything up, just make it be warm. From the tap, warm, bath water, put your fingers in it, just warm to the touch. We're gonna put that in. I also include a quarter of a cup of dried milk. I really like how that impacts the texture of this. So a quarter of a cup of dried milk. Dried milk is something great to always have on hand because if you ever are baking anything and you don't have milk, if you're not big milk drinkers in your house, or if for whatever reason you just can't get out of the house, you can always have dried milk or evaporated milk I keep on hand too to bake with. But a quarter of a cup of dried milk. I have 1.5 teaspoons of salt and 1.5 tablespoons of sugar. I'm gonna put that in. Then I'm going to do a little product review for you. As you know, kind of a bare minimalist, but the things that I do like, I love. So I have my pizza dough flavor. This is a King Arthur product. Let me see if I can tell you some of the ingredients that it has in it. It has some cheddar cheese powder. It has garlic, onion powder. That's pretty much some salt, and some buttermilk, some enzymes. So it gives it a pizza parlor taste. It definitely gives the dough a pizza parlor taste. You can taste the difference of it. I use 2 tablespoons. This container will last me for a little bit. And whenever I make my dough for pizzas or calzones, I put it in. I grew up in Rhode Island from an Italian family. My kids love, whenever we go down to Rhode Island to go to the bake shop, their dough has a distinct taste. This is the closest way that I can get it to an authentic Italian tasting pizza dough. So I do use that. You can buy it right on King Arthur Flour's website. So that's this, 2 tablespoons of that pizza dough flavoring. And you can play around with it, 1.5, 2 tablespoons, see what you like. And then I am going to just slowly start mixing that up. And then I'm going to grab my flour and my yeast. Now, while that's starting to mix up, my mother makes, she puts beer in her pizza dough, and my kids love the flavoring of that. So if I was going to do beer, which I have pulled out, so I guess I'm going to be committed to doing this later on, I like to use a darker beer. This is actually Shiner Bock, a brown ale, IPA, just a darker beer. And what I do is I poured this out first thing in the morning because you want it to get flat. So it should sit on your counter for a few hours to become flat. And I would utilize the same recipe. However, if I was going to use the beer would sub out for the water, 1.5 cups beer instead of 1.5 cups of the water. And I would omit the pizza dough flavoring and the dried milk. So let me repeat that, and I'll post that down below. If you wanted to do more of a beer dough, bread dough, which it tastes phenomenal. My kids, I think, actually probably prefer this over the regular. They like both, but they really like the flavor of this. You substitute 1.5 cups of flat beer for the water, and then you omit the dry milk and the pizza dough flavoring, okay? So that's just a different way to get a different variety or taste on the same recipe. So I have that mixing up. It's going to take 3 3/4 cups of flour. My mother swears by bread flour. I just use all-purpose flour because 90% of the time I'm not thinking of it. I'm just shoveling it out. I got 3 kids running around trying to hurry up and get dough made. So if I remember to use the bread flour, I do. But this can work great with either one, with the all-purpose or with the bread flour. Slow down my mixer, and I'm going to go ahead and add that in. Yet again, I know I'm going to be asked, can you use whole wheat flour? And I will tell you guys the same answer I've been telling you since the summer. Anything that has whole wheat flour in it, my kids hit the highway. So I do not. But yes, you could do 50-50. You could probably do 100% whole wheat flour with the same recipe, and it would be perfectly fine. So the recipe is really adaptable. It's super easy. It's one of those recipes that you can kind of tweak and tune, modify, and make it work for you. So I'm just going to continue adding that flour in. And before I add too much of it in, I'm going to grab my yeast. Of course, I don't have my measuring spoon right here, so hold on. And I'm going to do 2 teaspoons of the yeast, and I'm going to get it in there while the dough is kind of liquidy. I don't poof my yeast when I do this recipe. Like I said, my water was a little bit warm, so I just put it in like that, and it should be, I mean, it is totally fine. That's one of the other reasons why I really like doing the dough in the bread machine. You don't have to worry about the water temperature or any of that. It just kind of does its own thing. And I'm just going to let that mix and probably let it knead inside the mixing bowl for about 5 to 8 minutes until it just comes together off the side of the bowls and that nice clump of dough, that ball of dough has formed around your dough hook. That's when you know that it's ready. After that's made, I put it into a bowl and I cover that bowl. If your house is cool, put it in your oven with just your oven light on, or find the warmest place in your house and let it rise for an hour or so until it's about doubled in size. At that point, then we get to make something with it, and that is what we're gonna do now. So let me just clear out my space so we can make our pizza and our calzones and get to the good part of this. Now, at this point, you can refrigerate your dough. You could make a big batch or make a couple of batches. You could even freeze it, put it in the freezer, and then when you take it out, you do your rise. So a lot of times people will make the dough ahead of time. Also, a lot of times what sometimes we'll do is we will actually make the dough. We will go ahead, get it out in the crust. We'll pre-bake the crusts, and then I will wrap those up and throw them in the freezer. You just have to make sure that they cool 100%, like literally let them sit on your counter all day so there's not any heat in them at all, and make sure that you really wrap them up nice and tight, and then you can throw them in your freezer, and then you can just pull them out, put your toppings on, cook them, and you get a homemade pizza, super easy meal. So I'm just gonna move this over a little bit. And let's get making some pizza and calzones. So this is my dough that I started with this morning. I actually put it by the wood stove. So it definitely grew in size. With this recipe, you can definitely get 2 good-sized pizzas or 2 calzones from one batch of dough. Okay, so after you've let it risen, go ahead and put some flour down on your work surface. I also like to just flour up my hands a little bit, and then I'm gonna punch down that dough. This dough is light and fluffy and airy and smooth. I'd like to just put it into the flour so that it's just more manageable for me to work with. And let me grab a knife so I can cut it in half. And I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it in half. And I am going to work with half at a time. And can you all see that? I'm trying to see which way. Maybe if I, oh, this way, there we go. Okay, so what I wanna do for the calzone is I just want to work this and get it so that I have a rectangle, okay? I don't want to get it super thin, but I want to be able to get it as thin as I possibly can. King Arthur also has a product called the Dough Improver, and my children spent pretty much most of the summer with my parents, and like I told you, my mother makes something with dough every single day, and they're like, Mama, you gotta get the dough. I think it's called dough relaxer or dough enhancer. I gotta look it up and see. Like, you gotta get that. It makes the dough so much more manageable to work with. Makes me funny. They're all about, with Mimi, the extra products. So we're gonna roll that out. Try to be able to get as much space as we can. And when I roll out, I like to push and roll, adding that weight and that pressure. All right. So I think that you can see that. I'm sorry, I need to really probably get, there you go, you guys can see. So that is what it looks like. I'm wondering if I put my Just bear with me for a second. There we go. Okay, perfect. Good thing I'm short. Okay, there's my dough. And I'm going to shut this off. I'm going to shut that off, and I will take that out of, actually, I will do it right now and just show you that part so you can see. So it's all around my, whoops, all around my hook. There's my dough. I am going to take it out of here. A little bit more flour on my hands. There we go. This dough is a little bit sticky, so definitely do not feel bad adding some flour to your work surface in your hands. But super smooth. It kind of reminds me of the cinnamon dough roll. It's just that smooth, silky dough that we like to touch. I'm going to grab that. I'm going to put it in my bowl. And this is what the other one looked like, and it got to as big as I showed you before. So cover it up with my saran wrap. And I will put that over by my wood stove in a little bit. So for my calzone, I have my dough rolled out thin, kind of in a rectangular shape. And you can literally put anything in here, but let me grab what I'm going to put in today. One of the great things about pizzas, and that my kids love especially, is I would take this amount of dough and I would divide it into 4 pieces. Then everyone would have their own individual little pizza. I put all the toppings out on the counter. They'd be able to come on. They'd be able to put whatever topping they wanted on, and everyone has a homemade pizza. The calzones, what I'm going to do today, let me show you what I have. I have some Italian cold cuts. Favorites that my kids like. They like prosciutto. I have mortadella. They like gabagool. It's spelled capicola, if that's how we ever pronounce it. They like so there's hot and sweet capicola. There is Genoa salami that they like, but you could put anything. I do ham and cheddar cheese. Sometimes I'll make chicken cutlets, and I'll do chicken cutlets in a sauce. But for today, we're just going to do plain Italian. These are so easy to make. Great, great, great party favor. And you can add whatever you want or whatever you have on hand. So I am just going to start, and I am going to start putting my meat out. So I'm going to do a row of the Genoa salami. And I have to grab my cheese. For this, I like to do sliced provolone. But like I said, if you didn't want to make it Italian themed, you could use cheddar, Munster, really anything. So I have some provolone that I'm going to do next, a row of provolone. I love these whenever we travel because I can bake them the night before, and then I slice them up. I put them in a Tupperware container, and they travel a lot better, I personally feel, than sandwiches. When we go to the beach or when we go on hikes, this is what I take. They travel well. The kids, one kid might only want 3 pieces, one kid might want 8. And, I hate half-eaten sandwiches that just kind of get tossed and then the kid's hungry again afterwards. So this is perfect. They can kind of eat what they want and the rest of it stays intact, doesn't get all sandy, doesn't get grossed, and they can pull it out later on. And I'm just going to repeat. So try to get it as close to the edges as possible because nobody wants, even though the dough is delicious, nobody wants that piece of dough that doesn't have any fillings in it. And let's see, there we go for our meats. So on this one, I have Genoa salami, I have mortadella, and I have sliced provolone. I'm going to go ahead and add some basil to it and just lay the basil in. Whenever I have to bring something to a party, this is what I bring. Because I usually have everything on hand for it. and it's easy, it travels well, it doesn't have to be reheated. Okay, so I'm just gonna put some basil, and then I have some you know what? Hold on one second, I have another idea. Oh, they're right here. I'm gonna put, I don't know, I started a page, a new page called Heidi's Homegrown, to do some else of my own personal things above and beyond the baking, some preserving, some gardening, just some other kind of homesteading tips that we have. And we used the library's dehydrator with some small Roma tomatoes that I had left over. And if you go on that page, you can see that there is a video for sun-dried tomatoes. So I am going to take some of the sun-dried tomatoes, and I am just going to layer those onto my calzone. And I'm using my fingers, and as a result, the oil is coming out as well. And these have been sitting now for a few weeks, so that oil is definitely flavored. Oh, these look so good. That oil is definitely flavored. I'm just going to add some flavor. Let me just wash my hands. Okay. Grab a towel. Yeah, so definitely go ahead and borrow that dehydrator and make yourself some of the sun-dried tomatoes, because this is definitely one of the times that you can use it. Now, another product that my mother purchased for me that I like from King Arthur is the pizza seasoning, which is great. I can tell you what that has in it. That has onion, garlic, basil, oregano, red pepper flakes. So just an easy combination, totally for convenience. Love this. Whenever I make a white pizza, I will put olive oil in this on, but I am just going to sprinkle some of this all over everything of my calzone. You could add roasted red peppers to this. I've used fresh tomatoes in this. Really, the possibilities are endless. Actually, my kids really like marinated eggplant. If you can find that, it's in the Italian section. I think even Hannaford's might have it. But make this however you like. Use the flavors of what you like. Use what you have on hand. Then you're going to take your long section, your long edge, and you're going to just roll it like a jelly roll. And I'm seeing here it looks a little bit bare, and I have 2 more pieces of the mortadella. So I am just going to sneak them in so that every bite has something on it. Get it right up to the edge. There we go. Take my edge, push it down. I'm going to take my ends here and I flip it and push them down. If you do it right, you really shouldn't have that much. So my seam and my edges are all on this side. I'm going to grab my pan. I love these stoneware pans. I do not preheat them. I do not preheat, put them in my oven and preheat. I just put them as that. And this is going to poof up, and it is going to get much larger and when you bake it. So I bake it at 400, probably for about 20-25 minutes. I'm one of those people who just have to look at things and see how it looks. So as it starts rising, you definitely want to watch 25-30 minutes, probably I would say 25-30 minutes. It will definitely be done, but keep an eye on it so it doesn't get too brown on top. I do like to put a little bit of olive oil on top, so I'm going to do that. Once it's done, let it cool, and then just go ahead and slice it in about 1.5 to 2 inches wide slices, and you have a great appetizer. You have a great kind of quote unquote sandwich on the go that you can bring with you. So that is that. I will post when I take it out of the oven, because we're probably not going to go another 25 minutes. I will post pictures of what it looks like when it's all done below the post. Super easy calzone. Put whatever you want in it. and bring it to your next party that you're invited to. It will be a hit, I promise you. All right, now let's do a pizza. So I have, clean out my space here, my second half of the dough that I'm going to use. And I'm going to just get that into a round. And like I said, normally if I did just one batch of the dough, I would divide it into either two to get 2 decent sized pizzas or 2 calzones. Or if it's just the kids and I would divide it into 4 pieces, and then everybody would have their own pizza to go ahead and go ahead and put their own toppings on. And my kids love that. They love a topping bar because I have one who likes supreme and one who just likes pepperoni and one who likes Italian and one who will try. And inevitably, nobody chooses the toppings that I choose, and then guess which pizza everybody eats. I don't know if that happens at your house either. So I try to gently remind them. Now, if you really did want one giant pizza, you could keep that dough just in one batch. But honestly, I just find it easier to manage if I just divide it up. And I do one of 2 things. It just depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I have the smaller Pampered Chef tray. I'll put it in there and I will just push it out. It will make it a little bit more thicker of a crust, and I'll cook it that way. But today I rolled it out and I'm going to get it on my stone. There we go. And this is another reason why I normally like to keep it, I do half because it fits perfectly on my pizza stone that way too. So it can be personalized how people like it. And alrighty, so there we go. I do like to kind of just pick up my edges. It gives it a little bit more, kind of creates a barrier, gives it a little bit thicker of a crust. I have some kids who like that, some who don't, and I'll show you. All right, so I have my pizza sauce, which we made a bunch of pizza sauce this summer with our tomatoes. I just did a thicker tomato sauce. I put a little bit more tomato paste in it than I normally would, and then I just canned it like I would my tomato sauce. But I let it cook down a lot more, and I put more tomato paste in it, so it's definitely a thicker sauce with probably a lot more seasonings than I would have in my normal sauce. So I thought I had a spoon there. My workspace is definitely getting cluttered over here. So I have my dough, and normally what I would do is I would just put out my toppings for the kids. We have some bell peppers. I cooked up some sausage, some olives, some pepperoni is what they like. I like some basil on mine, some tomatoes. So what I am going to do is I'm going to start with my tomato sauce. And I know this is all personal preference of how much you like. Now we have tried numerous kinds of tomato pasta sauce, I should say. Quite honestly, my kids like the Hannaford's brand, which I know is probably made by an Italian some sort of Italian parent company, but they just slapped the Hannaford's brand on it. Or is it Raos, R-A-O-S? That's another one that they like if we don't make it, but we made a bunch, and I made them in some of the smaller jars. So hopefully it won't go bad. But I am just gonna cover that up. I also like a white pizza where I would just put the olive oil down. I would probably do just the olive oil, probably using my sun-dried tomatoes. With that, I might do sun-dried tomatoes and my basil. I would use my pizza topping, maybe some prosciutto. I love prosciutto on top of pizza because it kind of crisps up when you cook it, and I love that crispy taste on it. But for this one, I'm gonna do more of a kid-friendly. I think this is what my kids asked for, and if I time it right, I can probably, I'm not sure, 100% sure if they all ate lunch, so they might be able to have this, but I have some of the, let me tell you about what I do for cheese. I buy an Italian or a pizza blend, not the pizza blend, because the pizza blend I find all has cheddar cheese on that, and I don't want that on my pizza. So I buy an Italian blend, and then I buy plain mozzarella, and I mix that together. So I am going to put that on. And I like to get that all the way to the edges. And then my kids asked for some of the sausage. This is some of the sausage we bought from Amish country. If you go on my page, Heidi's Homegrown, we had gone to Amish country a couple of weeks ago. We went to a sausage shop and we ended up with some great sausage. So I'm going to put that on. I am going to put some of our bell peppers, which we still had from our garden, which is so fun to still have these to be able to put on. I'm gonna put on some black olives. They like that as well. And actually, if I'm looking out at the dining room, it looks like they all had lunch. So you know what? I could be. Say it isn't so, I could be ahead of myself on dinner. That never happens, and save these and pop them in for dinner. So there we go. Kind of a supreme. I'm going to take a little bit of basil, and I am going to put that on there. And that's it. Oh, you know what? And I think I will take some of the pizza seasoning. We can put some of that pizza seasoning on as well. That adds a nice touch. I'm going to bake it at 400. Like I said, I start about 25, 30 minutes, start looking at it and seeing. I definitely want to check the bottom to make sure that the bottom isn't burning, and noticing it for it to brown up. But about 25 minutes, I would say. And there's your pizza. I'm going to do one more, just a quick one, and a white pizza, and show you how I would do that. So here's my dough that I got from the bread machine. So it had been sitting in there. I had put on a second cycle, and it's just been sitting in there waiting for me, which is what I love. All right, and I'm going to take this in half. Get it spread out. Give myself a little bit of space here. The best thing about pizza and calzones, which is so nice, is that you can go ahead and you can just customize them to how you want it. And if you have the bread machine, this is a little bit sticky. If you have the bread machine, let that do the work for you. And then whenever you're ready for it, you can come and grab it, and you can have the kids help you make pizza. Which my kids were all, can we help? Can we help? But sometimes less is best. I love having them in the kitchen with me, and they're in the kitchen with me quite often, but I think they're using this opportunity as a little extra break today in schoolwork, and they are, this is a little bit sticky. I'm going to put some on my, they're out there. I can hear them, I think, playing a mean game of Monopoly. So white pizza is great. You just omit your pizza sauce, which I love. I think it really adds to the flavor of the pizza, and it just enhances, or I think maybe showcases, the flavors better. They don't get lost in with the pizza sauce. So you just want to, there we go. This dough is being a little unruly today, but I got it spread out good. Can y'all see that? Perfect. Grab another stone. Make sure it's going to fit on it. And I'm just going to manipulate this to make the dough work for me. Perfect. Make sure I have no holes. And excuse me, something just popped up when I hit my screen, just so I can see what you're seeing. All right, so for this, I'm going to utilize some of that oil from the sun-dried tomatoes. It smells so good. I'm going to put that on. I'm going to put some of my pizza seasoning right onto that olive oil. Do this quick. And as you can see, this pizza isn't perfectly round. It's kind of a blob, and I'm okay with that. I am totally okay. I am going to put my cheese mixture on, like I said, my Italian blend and my mozzarella. Get that on there. I have some fresh tomatoes, so I'm going to put some of those on. I try to slice them as thin as I can when I am putting them on. I have a little bit more basil left that I washed, so I'm going to put that down. Why don't you guys type below what are some of your favorite pizza toppings? I know these are some of our favorites. My kids also like Hawaiian. They love barbecue chicken on pizza as well. That's definitely become a favorite. Let me see if I can wipe my hands a little bit. I'm going to put some prosciutto on this one. And with the prosciutto, I'm just going to break it into little pieces, and because like I said, it will get kind of that crispy, crunchy as it cooks up, which is, that's my favorite. I have some prosciutto. These little packs too are kind of some great ways to try some of the Italian cold cuts if you're not sure, and putting them in a calzone or a pizza I think is a fun way. I grew up on all of this, so it's not unfamiliar to me. But if you're not sure about some, this is a great way to try some of that. I'm going to take a couple of those sun-dried tomatoes. Oh my goodness, I think my friend Linda might have, there's even a piece of garlic that was in there. I'm going to put that right on top. My friend Linda had the dehydrator. I'm wondering if she's returned it, because I might need to do another jar of the sun-dried tomatoes. And then I'm just going to put some of the olive oil on those tomatoes. I'm going to take some salt and pepper. Put a little bit of salt and pepper over everything on this. I sometimes feel like the tomatoes need that. And there's my white pizza with no tomato sauce. Just tomatoes, basil, cheese blend, sun-dried tomatoes, prosciutto, and whoops, all set to go. So the recipe is posted below. You can do it just as is. You can change out the water for your beer, same amount. Just omit your pizza flavoring and your dry milk in that one. I will post that below. You can make your calzones like I showed you that you roll up and add anything to. You can make your regular pizzas. I do prefer cooking mine on a stone. I've just always done that. If you have a regular baking sheet, sometimes I'll put down a piece of parchment paper and cooking it on that. 400 degrees, I start checking it at about 25 minutes. And then just depending upon the pizza, how thick the dough is, if you didn't roll it out thin enough, or if you have a really thick crust, you might have to change it. And actually, what I'm going to do too on this one is at about the 20-minute mark, I'm going to take some fresh mozzarella. I'm just going to take the fresh mozzarella. I just take clumps off the ball like this, and I will put the fresh mozzarella on the top for about the last 10 minutes of baking. I don't like that to get super runny, and because it's kind of thin and it's more of a delicate cheese, sometimes it just doesn't fare well if it's cooked for the whole time. So I put that on about the last 10 minutes. But that's it. Make it your own, personalize it, get your kids involved, change up your Friday pizza nights, use what you have on hand. Great way to empty out what you have in the fridge. One batch of dough can make 2 decent-sized pizzas, 2 decent-sized calzones, a pizza and a calzone. So play around, have fun with it. Maybe, I think it would be fun if everyone started, if you did some of the recipes, if you came back to the video and you posted your finished product down below, that would be really great to see what everybody's finished product is and to see, I always get so many great ideas from seeing what other people have done. So have a great day and we'll see you all later. Bye-bye.